Good morning, everyone. So, we had seen in the last class about the photoelectron spectroscopy, in which we had categorized two systems, that is UV photoelectron spectroscopy and X-ray photoelectron spectroscopy. In the UV photoelectron spectroscopy, we were thinking about the surface electrons, whereas in the X-ray photoelectron spectroscopy, we will be looking upon the core electrons associated with the atoms. Now in this particular lecture, this is a basic outline that I am going to go through. XPS background, XPS instrument, how does XPS technology work, Auger electron, cylindrical mirror analyzer, the equation related to it, kinetic energy versus the binding energy, spectrum background, identification of XPS peaks, X-rays versus the electronic beam and the XPS technology. So this is the basic outline that I am going to go through. What is the background for this X-ray photoelectron spectroscopy? Now we have already seen that photoelectron spectroscopy is based on an Einstein's idea of a photoelectric effect, which was developed around 1905. The concept of photons was used to describe the ejection of electrons from a surface when the photons were impinged upon it. That means whenever we give some X-ray radiations on the surface, that means we are putting some photons on the surface. Either we give UV photons or we try to give some X-ray photon systems. What happens is this gives an ejection of the electrons. During the mid 1960s, this particular technique was actually developed by Dr. Seban and his research group. And he developed this particular technique for the useful system to understand atom and molecular system. For this particular technique, Dr. Seban has received Nobel Prize in Physics. Now, what are X-rays? Whenever there is an irradiation of the sample surface, the X-rays hit the core electrons of the atoms. The X-rays penetrate the sample to a depth on the order of a micrometer. We already know that the atoms are in the range of a micrometer. So if the X-rays have to eject the electron, that means they have to move into the depth of a micrometer. This will produce an E signal which is obtained only from a depth of around 10 to 100 angstrom on the surface. Now this is the range through which we are going to get some useful electronic signal. What are the sources of this X-ray are magnesium, potassium, alpha photon with an energy of 1253.6 electron volt, aluminium potassium alpha photon with an energy of 1486.6 electron volt. So these are the sources, basic sources of X-rays. Normally, the sample will be radiated with photons of a single energy. That means there will not be a mixture of this. Either magnesium potassium or aluminum potassium system is used. Now, if I use a single system, that particular system was called as monoenergetic X-ray beam. Now, why we need to focus on the core electrons? Now, in the core system of an atom, there is a system called, or there is a level called a Fermi level. Now, this particular Fermi level is nothing but where there will be major amount of electrons which are situated. An electron near the Fermi level is far from the nucleus. Now this one thing is it is far from the nucleus and it will not carry information about any single atom. Now there will not be much information of a single atom. What is a Fermi level? It is the highest energy level occupied by an electron in a neutral solid at absolute zero temperature. So what we understand is it is the highest energy level which is occupied by an electron in a neutral solid. That means at absolute zero temperature. This is where the electron is situated. Electron binding energy is calculated with respect to the Fermi level. So what we understand is how much is the binding energy is with respect to the Fermi level. Binding energy gets calculated with respect to the Fermi level. Why this happens? is because Fermi level is having the highest energy level occupied by an electron. So we try to understand what is the amount of the energy to be given so that the electron gets ejected out. The core electrons are local to the nucleus. Obviously, when we observe valence electrons and core electrons, the core electrons are more near to the nucleus. And the binding energy of such core electrons are very characteristic of that particular element. Now, potassium will have a particular core binding energy. The sodium will have some particular core binding energy. Now, this is something characteristic of that particular element. The core electrons have higher probability of matching the energy of aluminum potassium and magnesium potassium. That means these sources through which I am going to give X-rays, the core energy of these core electrons, they almost match, and then they hence eject out the system. So once I give some amount of X-rays through aluminum or magnesium system, the core electrons are ejected out. Now these core electrons, they have got some characteristic binding energy with respect to that particular level. So these core electrons binding energy is calculated with respect to the Fermi level. Now what is a Fermi level? Fermi level is something where the highest energy level is occupied by an electron. What is a binding energy? Now we are speaking about the binding energy of the core electrons for each element. The binding energy is determined by the attraction of the electrons to the nucleus. Now how much is the core electrons being attracted by the nucleus? If an electron with energy x, now say we have got an electron with energy x, is pulled away from the nucleus, the attraction between the electron and the nucleus decreases. What happens is, now this is the nucleus, this is an electron with some energy x. Now if I try to pull away these electrons, the attraction energy, it goes on decreasing between this particular electron and the nucleus. Eventually what happens is, there will be a point when the electron will be free from the nucleus. That means this electron will be free from the influence of the nucleus. Once it is free from the influence of the nucleus, it gets ejected out. Now let us understand the concept with this diagram. Now these are the electrons attracted to the proton with certain binding energy x. I am giving some binding energy x and they get attracted to the photon. Now here I am speaking about X-rays. At some point when the electrons achieve enough energy, now they can be ejected out. In turn, the nucleus will lose its influence on this electron and the binding energy will be decreasing. Once this binding energy decreases, the electron will be ejected out. Now this is how we understand about the binding energy of the core electron systems. Now, what are the energy levels? There is a lowest state of energy. Now, these are the electrons in which they are present at the lowest state of energy. Now, there is a binding energy level. That means at this amount of energy should be given so that it equals the binding energy, and then I can eject a electron. The Fermi level is the highest energy level which will have the number of electrons situated with it. Now there should be some work function so that I can give the work function, and at a vacuum level I can eject these electrons. At absolute 0 Kelvin, the electrons fill from the lowest energy state ups. Then when the electrons occupy up this level, the neutral solid is in its ground state. That means now this is completely in ground state because it is occupying its highest occupied molecular orbital. That means I am not giving any external energy. Once I give some external energy which is equivalent to the binding energy, then these electrons can be ejected out. Now this can only happen if they surpass the Fermi level and there is some enough work function, then they can be ejected through the vacuum level. Let us understand the XPS instrument. XPS is also known as electron spectroscopy for chemical analysis. Now this technique is widely used because it is very simple to use and the data is easily analyzed, because there is very less data and there will be very less noise associated with it, and hence it can be easily handled by major systems. XPS works by irradiating the atoms of a surface of any solid material with X-ray photons. Now, if there is a presence of a solid surface, X-rays will be put on that particular surface, causing an ejection of electrons. So, if there is a solid surface, we can just bombard X-rays on the surface and then the electrons gets ejected. The XPS is controlled using a computer system. Now this computer system will control the X-ray type, whether it will give aluminum potassium type or magnesium potassium type, dependent on the sample, is controlled by this computer system, and then the computer prepares the instrument for the further analysis. Now the instrument uses different pump systems to reach the goal of an ultra high vacuum environment. Why do we have to use an ultra high vacuum environment? Is because we need to reduce the noise. There should not be any other types of signals through which we get confusion of that particular spectra. So we have to make use of an ultra high vacuum environment. Only then the electrons will be ejected out and we can measure their kinetic energy very much properly. The ultra high vacuum environment will prevent the contamination. This will also prevent the contamination and it will easily aid on an accurate analysis of the sample. So if I want to get a proper analysis of the sample, I should always stick on to an ultra high vacuum environment. Now let us come to the instrument itself. Now there is an X-ray source, there is an ion source, there is SIMS analyzer through which the analysis takes place. Now X-ray source meaning what? Either it will be aluminum potassium or magnesium potassium system. There will be some ions which needs to be ejected out, and there is an analyzer system. Now there is a sample introduction chamber through which the sample gets analyzed. Now in the sample introduction chamber, there will be two chambers. There is a first chamber, there is a second chamber. Now the sample will be introduced through a chamber that is in contact with an outside environment. So the first chamber is in contact with the outside environment. Then later it will be closed and pumped to a low vacuum system. After the first chamber at a low vacuum, the sample will be introduced in the second chamber in which a ultra high vacuum environment exists. In the first chamber, first the sample gets introduced and then there is a low vacuum which gets introduced in that particular chamber. But in the second chamber, there is already a presence of an ultra high vacuum and the sample will start moving in the second chamber. It will start moving in the second chamber over here. Already we have seen why do we require ultra high vacuum, so that there will be very less noise and the sample could be analyzed without any external contamination. Let us see the diagram of the side view of this XPS system. Now we have seen that there is a sample introduction chamber. Now there is a sample situated here. There is a SIMS analyzer, that means it is an analyzer system. There is an X-ray source, there is an ion source. Why do we require an ion source? There because we need just a monoenergetic system to fall on the sample. Now there is an axial electron gun. Now these electron guns, they fall on the sample. Once the electron guns detects the electrons, what happens is once the X-ray source and the ion source, they fall on the sample, the axial electron gun, it detects the ejected electron and then it takes to the detector. Now there will be certain slits through which the electrons will be moving. There is an ion pump and a roughing pump. That means to control the amount of X-rays and the ions getting introduced in the chamber, roughing pump and ion pumps are used. So to understand how does the XPS technology work? A monochromatic X-ray beam emits photoelectrons from the surface of the sample. The X-rays either of two energy, that is aluminum Ka or magnesium K. We already know that 1486 and 1253. The X-ray photons, the penetration about the micrometer of the sample. Now these X-rays, they fall on the sample and the micrometer of the sample is penetrated. The XPS spectrum contains the information only about 10 to 100 angstrom of the sample. That means that is the amount, or that is the angstrom through which we can analyze the sample. Ultra high vacuum environment to eliminate contamination. We have already seen that we do not want any contamination, so an ultra high vacuum is introduced. There is a cylindrical mirror analyzer system. Now this CMA is a cylindrical mirror analyzer system which measures the kinetic energy of the emitted electrons. The spectrum plotted by the computer from the analyzer is the signal. The binding energies can be determined from the peak positions and the elements present in the sample identified. Now what we try to do here is, once the X-rays and the ion source falls on the sample, first the sample gets introduced by first chamber and second chamber. First chamber has got vacuum, the second chamber has got ultra high vacuum. Once the sample is introduced, now the X-ray source and the ion source will fall on this sample. Once the X-ray source falls on the sample, the electrons will be ejected from the core system. These electrons which gets ejected, they get detected by the axial electron, which now moves this system to a cylindrical mirror analyzer. Now these electrons will get analyzed in a CMA system and they fall on the detector. Now the detector will give me a spectrum. The roughing pump and an ion pump is present so that it can control the X-ray source and it can control the ion source getting introduced in the chamber. One important system is that always the chamber is maintained under ultra high vacuum so that there should not be any kind of contamination. Now, why does an XPS need ultra high vacuum? We have already seen, because XPS is a surface sensitive technique. The contaminants will produce an XPS signal and lead to incorrect analysis of the surface composition. That means if there is any such contamination, we might get some kind of noise or we might get some extra signals which we do not want to understand in terms of understanding that particular element. The pressure of the vacuum system is maintained at less than 10 raised to minus torr. How do we actually remove the contamination? Contamination is removed by bombarding the sample surface by argon ions at 3 kilo electron volt. Now whatever is the contamination, any other element is present, some gases are present on the surface, gets eliminated when Ar plus, that is argon plus ions, they first are bombarded on the sample. Heat and oxygen can be used to remove hydrocarbons. So if there is a contamination of hydrocarbons, we can have either heating the sample or some oxygen is introduced so that the sample gets oxidized completely and the contamination is removed. The XPS technique could cause damage to the surface. Definitely this will cause some damage to that metal surface, but it is very much negligible. Now we may ask as to why we want to understand this particular core electrons or why we want to understand the surface. Now metal surfaces are understood to understand the periodic table properties. We know that this is the binding energy. We know that this is the ionization energy. To understand these periodic table properties, XPS is a proper technique to understand the ionization energies and binding energies. The atom and the X-ray. Now when I understand that there is an atom and the X-ray system, let us understand there is an atom system. There will be protons, there will be neutrons in the nucleus, there will be electrons which will be rotating in the orbit. Now, once there are valence electrons, there are core electrons. The X-rays, they get bombarded on the core electrons and they respond very well to the X-rays. This is because the core electrons binding energy is almost equivalent to the binding energy of the core electrons. Now, This once the X-rays falls on the core electrons, they get ejected out. This creates a vacancy in that particular orbital. Now this ejected free electron, its kinetic energy is measured in a X-ray photoelectron spectroscopy. By this we understand the binding energy of that particular element. Now X-rays on the surface. Now let us understand this is some kind of surface. There is an outer surface, there is an inner surface. Now the X-rays are being removed from an E-top layer, electrons from the top layer. This purple color is from the electrons of the top layer. And the red color represent electrons from lower layer with collisions. Now can we not see that once the electrons are being ejected, again there are some collisions and then it is getting ejected. Now once we want to understand that electron lower layer but with no collisions, there how we want to understand that there should not be any other noise in such a way that these particular maroon color system, without any collisions the electrons are getting ejected. Now these purple color arrows, they are representing the electrons being ejected from the top layer. The red color arrows are representing the electrons which are getting ejected from the core, but they are still facing some collisions. But what is of our use? Our use is electrons from a lower layer, but there should not be any collisions. Such type of electrons which get ejected out when the X-rays are bombarded, these are useful for our analysis. Now let us understand once again. Now let us say that this is the surface of some element. We are bombarding some X-rays on the system. Once we bombard the X-rays on the particular surface, we can say that from the atom layers, also from the top layer the electrons are getting ejected, and also from the inner layers the electrons are getting ejected. Now there will be three types. The purple color is representing that the electrons are being ejected from the surface level. We are not interested in that. But the red color is representing that the electrons are being ejected out from the core system. But these electrons are further undergoing some collisions with the surface level electrons. This is also of no use for us because it will give us lot of noise. What is useful to us is the maroon color arrow where the electrons are ejected from the core system only, but there is no collision. This is a perfect system through which we can understand the binding energy of the core electron system. The X-rays will penetrate the core electrons of the atoms in the sample. Some electrons are going to be released without any problem, giving the kinetic energy, that is a maroon color system, characteristic of their particular elements. The other electrons will come from an inner layers and they collide with other electrons of the upper layer. These electrons will be having very lower energy. They will contribute to the noise. Now here these purple color and the red color arrows, they are contributing to the noise. Only the maroon color system without any collisions, they do not contribute to any type of noise, and hence we can analyze the element surface properly and we can analyze the kinetic energy. In turn we can understand the binding energy which is characteristic to that particular element. Now let us understand this in a more system where atoms are being packed. Now when we see over here, this purple color arrows electrons, they are coming out without any collisions, whereas this red color arrows electrons, they are coming with collisions. Now these red color arrows system in which the electrons are coming out with an collision system, they contribute to the noise. Whereas without the collision system, they give us the proper analysis of the surface. The noise signal comes of the electrons that collide with other electrons. That is, these electrons are getting ejected, they again collide with some other electrons and then they are getting ejected out. Whereas these purple color electrons, they are not getting ejected and they come directly out of the system and their kinetic energy can be properly analyzed. The collision cause a decrease in the energy. Once the electrons get ejected out, again it collides, there is a loss of some energy. This decrease in energy will contribute very less to the characteristic of that particular energy. Now that particular system, the collisions cause a decrease in energy of the electron and it will no longer contribute to the characteristic energy of the element. Now these red color system, because they have got very much low energy, they do not contribute in the analysis. Whereas without the collisions, the electrons which have come out, they contribute to understand the characteristic energy of the element system. Now, what electrons can the cylindrical mirror analyzer detect? The CMA not only can detect the electrons from the irradiation of X-rays, it can also detect the electrons from the irradiation by the electron gun. Not only from X-rays, the sources can also be an electronic gun system. The CMA this particular detector can analyze both the systems from X-rays and the system from electron gun. The electron gun, it is located inside the cylindrical mirror analyzer, while the X-ray source is located on the top of the instrument. The electron gun is located in the CMA itself. The only electrons normally used in the spectrum from irradiation by the E-gun are known as Auger electrons. Auger electrons are also produced by X-ray irradiation. About the Auger electrons, we will be learning in our further classes. Thank you.